everybody. Good morning. It is blinding here. I cannot see a thing, so apologies.
You're in God's country, Connor.
It's too bright, if anything. But hello, all. Welcome. We're here to obviously bring you the team news for Norwich City against Coventry City. Kick-off at 12:30 this afternoon here at the CBS Arena. Norwich City, of course, searching for their first league win of the season, and we're going to bring you the team news as and when it drops in a moment or so. I have, as we made our way up to the press box, there were some Norwich players out. I have seen Forson here, which is a good sign. I guess the other debate is whether Anis Ben Slimani comes into the side or is involved at all. So we will get to that. And in fact, we have it for you here. Norwich City line up like this. Gunn in goal. Stacey, Duffy, Doyle and Krizene as the back four. Nunez, McLean and Forson as the midfield three. Sianax, Sainz and Sargent. So I make that unchanged from last weekend against Sheffield United. The subs-bench, George Long, Callum Fisher, Brad Hills, Jose Cordoba, Anis Ben Slimani on the bench, Oscar Schwartau on the bench, Liam Gibbs, Onel Hernandez and Gabe Forsyth. So unchanged for Norwich City from last weekend. I'll just run through it again. Gunny goal, Stacey, Duffy, Doyle and Krizene as the back four. Nunez, McLean and Forson as the midfield three, with Sianat and Sainz on either flank. Josh Sargent through the middle. The subs-bench, Long, Fisher, Hills, Cordoba, Slimani, Schwartau, Gibbs, Hernandez and Forsyth. Paddy, it's always nice to be back in your hometown, isn't it?
City.
Oh, that's
City, yeah. No, very nice, yeah. Always sunny here. I don't know
that's better. That's better.
Well, that is, but but to more pressing matters, I mean, great news on Forson. I mean, we were there Tuesday night, Crystal Palace, and
we were talking how many weeks,
months, no point. Yeah, I mean, during the game, and obviously he's back of a fag packet, but you're looking at dislocated shoulder and surgery and layoffs, and it was sort of minimum 6 weeks, more like 60 hours, and he's back and available. So that's a tough young man there that he's able to come through and wants to play and wants to be out there. And another opportunity for that three. It's interesting ahead of them, Cernak, Sainz and Sargent. If that's where his head's at the minute, you'd hope Cernak starts to show a little bit more, and that's not been uncharitable to him, but I just thought in the first two games, it's very clear he's adapting to the pace and the tempo and the intensity of English football. Clearly the technical ability isn't in doubt, and the money they've committed to him, they feel he's got something about him at this level particularly, so it'd be nice to see a little bit more of that today. But and of course, we don't need to dwell on it yesterday, but the fact that a certain American is there leading the line is tremendous news, because we don't even need to get into what it would have meant or how they'd have coped without Josh Sargent in this.
They've let him out of the basement.
No, they've let him out sufficiently just for today. Well, you can leave him out.
Let him know, Ryan, open the door and he's allowed to walk. So there's been a few comments on it, but you look at that bench, Paddy, a name that isn't amongst the substitutes. No Grant Hanley today in the matchday squad at all. I think over the last few weeks we've seen him obviously starting at Oxford. Didn't get a game against Stevenage. He's been on the bench. Now he's dropped out. Do you think that, obviously we don't know if it's a fitness-related thing, and we'll obviously ask Giannis after the game, but if it isn't fitness and it's just indicative of his position in the squad, it's quite a bold decision, isn't it, for a club captain not to be in a matchday squad?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I worked the lineup this morning because amongst all the transfer-related stuff when we spoke to Giannis on Thursday, probably the biggest takeaway for me was what he said about his centre-backs. I asked him in the sense of, are you a type of coach who wants that balance, right footer, left footer, or do you potentially want a Doyle and Cordoba pairing, two left footers? And before it even probably got to the end of the question, he said, yes, we will definitely see that at some point. So today, Cordoba is still maybe not quite at the level fitness-wise to start a championship game, but it would feel moving forward, Cordoba and Doyle could be the way. And then he went on to explain, because of the inverted nature of how they want to play and build the play, that two left footers in the heart of the defence could work. So if that is the case, then
I think you'd almost then be inclined to suck the right in, wouldn't you? So you have that natural balance.
That's what he said. Yeah, exactly. So in that context, moving forward,
what does that mean for Jack Stacey though?
Exactly. Yeah, but more pertinently, what does it mean for Hanley and Duffy? If he's openly saying, I can see a Doyle Cordoba pairing, then and obviously we have to caveat this with we don't know the reason why Grant Hanley isn't available today. It might purely be a fitness related matter. We spoke to Giannis on Thursday, then a train subsequently since then. We'll certainly get to the bottom of it after the game, but if it is purely selection terms, then it's another signal. Brad Hills gets the nod, Grant Hanley doesn't. That's another signal that the wheel is turning, and that, you know, I mean, again, I don't want to hypothesise too much, but if you go back to the first goal against Palace midweek, that was really Grant Hanley's error. Gets the ball from George Long, aimless ball into nowhere, 2 quick passes, and Norwich are 1 down, and Giannis made it quite clear. I think his words were something along, we didn't stick to our philosophy on that first goal. So that's a direct criticism of Grant Hanley, effectively. So we know how difficult he found it at Oxford on the opening day. So maybe it is. Maybe it's just that natural evolution. And it's a big call because of his standing and his status within the dressing room. But I think we're very clear now with this head coach. If he doesn't feel you're doing it for him, young or old, conversely, if you are doing it for him, Gabe Forsyth, for example, you will come in. So it's all about merit. It's a meritocracy he's trying to build here. And I don't think Grant Hanley really, on the current evidence, will have too many complaints. He's not in the 11. Maybe the bench is a different matter. But maybe for now we'll just park that, and obviously we'll get chapter and verse from Johannes after the game.
There's a lot of love for your shades.
Yeah. Well, luckily I didn't put. They just found him in my bag. So that was an absolute result. That unfortunately I didn't even bring my hat with me, so that's not so good. But
I'm quite jazzed because I can't see a thing. So
no, well, I can't really. I can't see. I certainly can't see my screen. So after we've recorded this, these will be coming off. And we'll be both lobsterised by full time. I
think you're right. In terms of the bench, obviously, Kay Gordon, who was announced 20 minutes to midnight, I think, last night, isn't involved for registration issues. Clearly, wasn't able to get registered in time. Anis Ben Slimani isn't on the bench. I mean, what a week it's been for that man. Came on last week to play Norwich City for Sheffield United, and a week later he's in the matchday squad. It shows how quickly the world moves.
Yeah, and maybe that's why Mike Lawforson was very keen to recover as quickly as he could. Because he's clearly one who goes into that competitive 3 now with Nunes and McLean and 1 or 2 others, Gibbs. It's interesting. It's interesting with Slimani because we don't. Again, I don't wish to dwell on the transfer window because we've had enough of that. Me and you, particularly yesterday. But it was pointed out to me late in the day yesterday that the Reina stuff, the Brazilian Real Madrid chap, that deal only fell down in the sense that they decided not to pursue it. Nothing to do with finances. They just decided that when Slimani became potentially available, he was more of a fitting the midfield prototype they wanted. Rainey had more an attacking midfield. This lad a 6/8. So if that was enough for Norwich to pivot and make him their number 1 target in the last week or so of the window, that tells me that he's going to be pushing pretty quickly to get in the 11. And I'm interested to see what he's got because he looks to have that physicality and athleticism that it's not a criticism of Force and Nunes McLean. But if you would say anything about that 3 in the opening games, they've looked a little bit lightweight at times against more robust midfield opponents. I think this Slimani, you look at his build, you look at what type of player he is supposed to be, I think he would add a bit more of that physicality. So, it's an interesting sign, and it's obviously one that they feel is going to improve them. And let's be clear, this time last summer, Sheffield United have identified him as a Premier League grade player. So in theory, dropping down to the Championship, he should be able to show he's a cut above this level. So it's good that they're able to get him over the line. It's another Danish flavoured signing. So there's 1 or 2 of them now in the mix, and hopefully. We get to see him at some point today, and then we can see exactly what they've got. Because I've got to be honest, I can't confess to know too much about him.
I couldn't tell you one thing he did last weekend. If I'm being completely honest with you, let's bring you the Coventry team. I think we can flash that up on the screens. There we go. They line up with Dovin in goal, Van Ewijk, Latibudier, Binks, who is a player that Norwich City admired in the summer, and Bidwell as the back 4. Torp and Eccles midfield 2. Torp's a very good player. I'm sure we'll get Paddy's analysis on this lineup in a moment. Sakamoto on the right, Haji Wright on the left, Rudoni, who was at Huddersfield last year, behind Ellis Sims. Paddy, you're our Coventry resident, so out of that lineup, who should Norwich fans be aware of today? Who's the standout? Torp, I guess. Rudoni, I know Wright's playing as a winger, but he's conventionally a striker. Sims, those sort of guys.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those players, were involved last season. I mean, they have made 1 or 2 signings. I've been told he's on the bench today, but they've brought in a 19-year-old Belgian, Norman Bassett, striker. He's apparently very good. Thomas Asante they brought from West Brom, and Mason Clark they got in from Peterborough. So
there's more depth to that.
Absolutely, yeah, and attacking depth as well. And that's what Johannes talked about on Thursday, that he thinks they have a lot of powerful attacking players, and that you can either try and defensively go up against that or try and impose your style of play. And in other words, deprive Coventry of being able to release those attacking players. I think looking at the 11, though, for me, Sakamoto, Norwich did a good job on him last season. If you remember, that was the player Mark Robbins felt it was on the end of some rough treatment, which I thought was a bit over the top. But he's no doubt he is one on his day. Can be a very good attacking option for him in the final third. Sims, he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he's quite effective at this level. He scores goals, and obviously, Hadji Wright, he knows Josh Sargent. Josh Sargent knows him. I think they've both finished on 15 league goals last season, so they'll probably have a little bit of a...
Am I right in saying, is it Hadji Wright that Glenn Riddlesholme is very familiar with?
Yeah, did he had him at Sonner's right, I think it was, yeah. Yeah, so he knows all about him, and I think he's another, a bit like Sargent, who's come into English football and had a good first season, so... putting my allegiances to the side, I think this is a group of players. This is a club now. They expect to be in and around the top six conversation. Last season got to the semis of the FA Cup. That probably detracted a little bit from the top six. The season before they got to the playoff final, Callum Doyle was in their ranks that season, and they're just building. Mark Robbins, he's got to be one of, if not the longest serving manager in the Football League now, and that longevity has brought them to this point where, under the ownership of a Norwich supporting fan in Doug King, they expect to be knocking on the door and hopefully at some point get into the Premier League. So there's no doubt this is a very stiff test today for Norwich.
Just very quickly, one more on the window, but there's been some comments certainly from supporters who maybe feel Norwich are a little bit light in terms of wide areas, forward areas. Would you agree with those concerns, that particularly looking at this team sheet today, that Norwich City are a bit lacking in, if not depth, then maybe a little bit of quality in those areas?
Well, certainly numbers-wise, because we know how it panned out in the end, and that they went down the loan route and brought in Cader Gordon. But starting yesterday, they were hoping to do a permanent. They were hoping to do a permanent when Abu was allowed to leave. Obviously, ran out of time with that. That's a far more complicated deal to get over the line. What are you laughing at?
Sorry, just lots of comments about your sunglasses.
Yeah, unfortunately, people are saying I keep playing with them. That's because I've realised they're in my bag because I think they're defective.
Someone said you look like a Sopranos extra, Maverick from Top Gun.
All right. Yeah. Enough. We're here to discuss the football, aren't we? So,
I'm enjoying them. If nothing else.
We were talking about lack of depth. So. Once John Rowe went, I think we did the podcast last Saturday night, and we all felt they'd probably look to do two wide players. I'm not even looking at the comments, but as it turned out, it was a loanee. So yes, purely on numbers, you lose Kamara Rowe, you bring in one, then you are down on numbers. But when that was put to Yanis midweek, he talked up Andy Cernach as a player who can play all the way along the front line, and as a result, Science, Cernach, Hernandez, maybe even Schwartau could play in those areas as well. So we'll see. But, they've made the decision in the closing hours that they wasn't going to go and aggressively try and bring in another one. So they must feel, Elliot Miles, if you want to broaden it out a little bit, they must feel that they've got the numbers in the squad over the coming months between now and January that they can cover it off. But there's no doubt, Sargent was out for any length of time. Who scores the goals? I don't see any natural successor to him at the moment, and that would be a concern.
Yeah, agreed. How do you see this going then, Paddy? It feels like a tough one for Norwich. I think everyone, certainly internally, you got the sense that they were looking at this first month, given all the challenges that have come up, some expected, some unexpected over the window, and looking at August as being quite difficult. There's an international break after this, 2 weeks where Johannes can really work with obviously the bulk of the squad that aren't going away for internationals, and there's probably fewer that are going than are staying. How do you see this game unfolding? And then, let's have your score prediction as well.
Well, I can't remember a game we've come here and it's not been very entertaining. Very open, very end-to-end. Both teams trying to score goals. So I think there will be goals again. But I just think as you mapped out there, Connor, it's a club and a squad who are very much in transition under a new head coach against a club who are very settled under a head coach who's been here a long time. They've been building incrementally. So at this particular juncture, early stage of the season, for me, Coventry are probably a little bit ahead in terms of what they're producing on the pitch. You look at their results, they lost at Stoke on the opening day, but they're unbeaten since then. So I think probably Coventry narrow win for me today, 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw. I think this is going to be. I agree with you. It's going to be open. There's going to be goals. I think it's going to be 2-2. I've got a couple of stats here. Coventry are winless in their last 8 league meetings for Norwich. So take that any way you want. But more interestingly, Johannes Hoftorp has failed to win any of his first 3 championship games in charge of Norwich City and could be the first Canaries manager to fail to win each of their first 4 league games in charge whilst in the second tier since Lowell Morgan in 1966. So I'm sure that's something he wouldn't necessarily want heading into.
Well, I asked him, I mean, just on this one, I did ask him about, you've got today's game, then you've got a 2-week break, you haven't won in the league yet. Does it elevate the need to get that win just to feel that you're up and running? And he was, anybody who watched the video, and he shot me down quite swiftly there and said of course he wants to win every game. He'd be annoyed if they don't win. He'll be frustrated. He'll have 2 weeks to stew on it. But he's not building up into those levels that you need to get that first win out of the way and then you're up and running. He feels there are signs of progress and then that will come. The goals will come. The wins will come. And if that is the case, then it's not necessarily the be-all and end-all today. But I just think more broadly, you come here, you win today. You go into that international period feeling, right, okay, we've got that window and all the distractions behind us. We've got that first win in the league. We've got 2 weeks now to reset almost and get ourselves all together, embed the new players into the group, and then really hit it hard then from, is it Watford, the first game, the other side?
Swansea,
Swansea onwards. So, for me, not essential they win today, but I think it really would inject that degree of momentum that, things are building nicely now, and with a settled squad, who knows where it can take them in the next few months.
Good stuff. Thank you, Paddy. And if you want to sponsor Paddy sunglasses for the next episode, then do get in touch and we can make that happen. Thank you very much. There's a full away end. It's filling up as I look to my right. Lots of yellow and green shirts. So hopefully they've got a win to celebrate tonight. And we'll see how this goes. Thank you very much for watching on all platforms. Pinkin.com, of course, the place to go for all the analysis, reaction to this game. And we'll see you again